Today we're going over the saddest deaths in Star Wars history. The death of these characters left us viewers heartbroken and gut-wrenched. Let me know in the comments down below which ones made you the most sad. Starting with Yattle. Yattle was a Jedi Master of the same mysterious race as Yoda and Grogu, and though she barely appeared in The Phantom Menace, Tales of the Jedi gave us a glimpse of her true wisdom, bravery, and heart. Unlike many of the Jedi Council, Yattle wasn't bound to rigid dogma. She believed in compassion and flexibility, traits that ultimately defined her final moments. In Tales of the Jedi, Yattle follows Count Dooku after suspecting something is deeply wrong. What she finds is far worse than she imagined. Dooku has already fallen, and Darth Sidious has begun grooming him into a full Sith apprentice. Rather than run, Yattle confronts Dooku directly, pleading with him to stop and return to the light. Her voice is calm but desperate, not for herself, but for him. In a heartbreaking turn, Dooku kills her to prove his loyalty to Sidious. Her death is silent, personal, and brutal, not on a battlefield, but in the shadows. Yattle died alone, betrayed by someone she once trusted. Her end marked the final step in Dooku's fall and showed how even the wisest Jedi could be struck down by the cruelty of the Sith. Next is Tech. Tech, the brilliant yet emotionally reserved member of Clone Force 99, wasn't just the squad's tech expert, he was their anchor. Logical to a fault, he often struggled to connect emotionally with his brothers, but deep down, he loved them fiercely. Throughout the Bad Batch, we saw Tech grow from being just a brainy clone to someone who began understanding and embracing the idea of a family. In the second season, Tech's fate is sealed during a mission to escape an Imperial facility. As the team tries to flee a collapsing railcar system, their pod is disabled mid-air. With no time and no options, Tech makes the impossible choice. He detaches the car he's in, knowing it'll kill him, to give the rest of the squad a chance to survive. His final words symbolize him as a character. He said, "When have we ever followed orders?" These words are not just a nod to his character's evolution, but a gut punch of emotion. For someone who's so analytical, so careful, to make a split-second, selfless sacrifice, it hit like a seismic charge. His death left the batch broken and fans stunned, and to this day, there's a lingering hope he might somehow still be alive. But as it stands in canon, Tech is gone, and his sacrifice is one of the most painful in post-Clone Wars history. Alright, y'all, 99.9% of you are not subscribed. So, if you're enjoying the video so far, I'm going to ask you to please subscribe. It really means a lot and it's free, so don't worry about that. And moving back to the video. Now we have Padme Amidala. Once the Queen of Naboo and later a senator, she was the voice of reason and a peace during one of the darkest times in galactic history. She stood against the war, corruption, and tyranny, and was one of the few who saw the cracks forming in the Republic long before it fell. But despite her intelligence and political power, Padme was still vulnerable because she loved Anakin Skywalker. Her death in Revenge of the Sith is tragic not just because she dies, but because of why she dies. As Anakin slips into darkness, Padme tries to bring him back, traveling to Mustafar and confronting him face to face. But he is no longer the man she married. Consumed by fear, hate, and twisted loyalty to Palpatine, Anakin lashes out. He force chokes Padme, and though she survives the attack, the emotional trauma is too much. She dies giving birth to Luke and Leia, her last words affirming there is still good in him. Padme's death represents the collapse of everything she believed in. She didn't die from wounds of war, she died of heartbreak. And with her death, the galaxy truly lost its last voice of hope before the rise of the Empire. Now is something on the list that we all expected. This is Jyn Erso and Cassian Andor's death. Jyn Erso and Cassian Andor weren't Jedi or royalty. They were ordinary people caught in extraordinary circumstances. Jyn, the daughter of the Death Star's unwilling creator, had spent most of her life on the run. Cassian, a hardened rebel spy, had done terrible things in the name of the rebellion. But when they came together in Rogue One, they found something more: purpose, redemption, and each other. Their mission to steal the Death Star plans on Scarif was always a suicide run. Still, they led a team into Imperial territory, fought through impossible odds, and got the message out, as the Death Star loomed above, ready to erase the Citadel Tower. Jyn and Cassian shared a quiet moment on the beach. No grand escape, no miracle, just a final embrace as the shockwave consumed them. Their deaths were a beautiful tragedy, not just because they were forgotten, but because their sacrifice saved the galaxy. Without them, there is no A New Hope. Their legacy was carved into the very foundation of the rebellion. This next one is gonna make me cry all over again just reading this script. Now we have Fives. CT-5555, known as Fives, was just another clone trooper. But during the Clone Wars, he became something else, a symbol of resistance, independence, and truth. Fiercely loyal and unafraid to question authority, Fives slowly uncovered one of the Republic's darkest secrets, the inhibitor chips implanted into every single clone trooper, designed to force them to kill the Jedi under Order 66. Fives got close, dangerously close, to exposing the plot, but no one believed him. The system he served his entire life turned on him. Framed for treason, confused and hunted, he confronted his friend, Captain Rex. In one last desperate plea for understanding, as Coruscant Guard troopers closed in, Fives collapsed, fatally shot, whispering, "This is bigger than any of us, than anything I could have ever imagined." His death was a tragedy of silence. The man who knew the truth died unheard, and the galaxy marched onward into the fall of the Jedi. Fives' death didn't just stop the Empire, but it planted the seeds of doubt that would one day grow into resistance. Now we have Qui Gon Jinn. Qui Gon Jinn was the Jedi who saw through the cracks of the Order long before anyone else. Wise, defiant, and spiritually attuned with the living force, Qui Gon didn't always follow the Council's decisions, and that's what made him so unique. He found Anakin Skywalker, believed him to be the chosen one, and advocated for his training even when everyone else refused. During the climax of The Phantom Menace, Qui-Gon confronts the deadly Sith apprentice Darth Maul. The duel is fast, fluid, and fierce, but in a moment of separation, Maul strikes first, plunging his double-bladed saber into Qui-Gon's chest. Obi-Wan, watching helplessly, is too far to intervene. As the life fades from him, Qui-Gon's final request is not for help, not for fear, but for Obi-Wan to train Anakin. His death was a turning point in the prequel trilogy. Had he lived, many believe Anakin's fate may have been different, but instead, Qui-Gon became the first Jedi to achieve immortality through the Force, continuing to guide even in death, a silent guardian in the shadows of destiny. Next is Han Solo. Han Solo was never supposed to be a hero. He was a smuggler, a scoundrel, and a rogue. But over time, he became something far more. A general in the rebellion, a husband, and a father. In The Force Awakens, we find Han lost again. His son, Ben Solo, has turned to the dark side and become Kylo Ren. Han hides his old habits, but Leia asks him to try one last time, to bring their son home. In the depths of Starkiller Base, Han approaches Ben on a narrow bridge. There is no backup, no weapons, just a father trying to reach his son. "Come home," he pleads. And for a moment, it looks like he might. Ben's eyes soften. He reaches out and then ignites his lightsaber through Han's chest. Han touches his son's face one last time before falling into the abyss. There is no scream, no final word, just a father's silent heartbreak. His death shattered not just Rey and Finn, but fans who had grown up with him. It was the death of a legend, and the catalyst that made Kylo Ren irredeemable for some time. Third on the list is Kanan Jarus. Kanan Jarus, born as Caleb Doom, was a survivor of Order 66, a Padawan turned fugitive. He abandoned the Jedi path to stay alive, but eventually found new purpose as the leader of the Ghost crew. Over time, he evolved from a reluctant mentor into a true Jedi Knight, finding love with Harrison Dula and forming a surrogate family with Ezra, Sabine, Zeb, and Chopper. In the episode Jedi Knight, Kanan, now blinded from a previous duel, leads a daring rescue mission to save Hera. As the group escapes from an Imperial fuel depot, an explosion is triggered. Kanan turns and sees the firestorm racing towards them. He uses the Force to hold it back, shielding his crew on the platform. But then, in a final moment of clarity, he turned towards Hera. His eyes miraculously become visible once more. He sees her, and then he lets go. Kanan's death is a perfect encapsulation of Jedi sacrifice. He gave his life not just for glory, but for love, for family, and for the future. It is one of the most poetic and devastating moments in Star Wars animation. In second place, we have Luke Skywalker. The legend of Luke Skywalker was never about power. It was about hope. In The Last Jedi, we find Luke broken. The man who once faced down the Emperor without even drawing a blade is now isolated, haunted by failure. He believes the Jedi must end, but Rey and the galaxy need him to be more than a myth. They need him to be a symbol. In the film's final act, Luke force projects himself across the galaxy to confront Kylo Ren and stall the First Order long enough for the Resistance to escape. He doesn't raise his saber to strike, he dodges, distracts, and challenges without violence. He gives the galaxy a legend, As the last of Resistance escapes, Luke sits atop the cliffs on Ahch-To, gazing into the twin suns, a mirror of his youth on Tatooine, and then, with peace in his heart, he vanishes into the Force. Luke's death was divisive, but undeniably powerful. He died not in battle, but in purpose, redeeming himself and reigniting the spark of rebellion across the stars. Next, we have Max Rebo. Just kidding. Next is Jabba the Hutt. I'm kidding. Sitting at the #1 spot, we have Darth Vader, also known as Anakin Skywalker. Anakin Skywalker's death in Return of the Jedi is not just the end of the character, it's the conclusion of the most tragic arc in all of Star Wars. Born as the Chosen One, a child of prophecy, Anakin was meant to bring balance to the Force. He was a brave, passionate, and gifted beyond measure. He was also vulnerable. Fear, loss, and manipulation turned him into Darth Vader, the most feared enforcer of all the Empire and the face of darkness across the galaxy. For decades, Anakin was lost behind the mask. Vader became a symbol of oppression, executing Jedi hunting rebels and enforcing Palpatine's will without mercy. But Return of the Jedi reminded us that there was still light inside him, just like his wife Padme said. When Luke Skywalker, his son, surrendered to him and refused to strike him down, it wasn't a moment of weakness, it was strength. Luke believed in Anakin when Anakin couldn't believe in himself. When Palpatine unleashed his full fury on Luke, Vader stood at the crossroads. In the agonizing moment, he looked back and forth between his master and his son and made the impossible choice. He turned against the Emperor, lifting him into the air and hurling him to his death. But it came at a cost. The lightning from Palpatine ravaged his whole life support systems, and in saving Luke, Anakin sealed his own fate. As he lay dying, Vader's final request was simple: to look upon his son with his own eyes. For the first time in decades, he wasn't Darth Vader, he was Anakin Skywalker, a father redeemed. Luke pleaded to save him, but Anakin refused. "You were right," he said. "You were right about me." With those words, he passed, not as a villain, but as the man he once was and was always meant to be. Anakin's death is the most heartbreaking in all of Star Wars because it embodies the full tragedy of the saga. He was a hero who became a monster, and then a monster who died a hero. It wasn't just the end of his life, it was the end of the prophecy, the fall and return of the Chosen One, and the true moment of the balance of the Force. Star Wars has always been a story of hope, but often it comes with sacrifice. The characters we lost in these moments remind us why the story matters. These deaths aren't just sad, they're meaningful. They remind us that in a galaxy full of darkness, the light shines brightest when someone chooses to protect it, even at great cost. Which death hit you the hardest? Let us know within the comments below. And if you want more emotional deep dives into Star Wars lore, subscribe. Until next time, and may the Force be with you.